The year 536 was quite possibly the worst year to be alive. And of course, it started with a volcanic eruption. The debris ended up blocking out a significant amount of sunlight, causing 18 months of straight darkness in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. The volcanic winter caused a sudden drop in temperatures. Summers in Europe and Asia became 35 to 37 degrees colder. Because of this, the years between 536 and 545 was the coldest decade on record in 2,000 years, and crops failed at a massive scale. Weather change was so drastic that it's even believed that freak snowstorms started to appear in places like China. If it couldn't get any worse, it's even believed that around this time was the first Black Plague outbreak. It killed between 1/3 and 1/2 of the population in the Byzantine Empire, or the Eastern Roman Empire. The Oceanic Plague was the first known outbreak of the Black Plague, and it struck the Mediterranean world at a pivotal moment in its historical development, when the Emperor Justinian was trying to restore Roman imperial power. Yeah, not a good decade for Romans.
This is a Mandela effect I found recently.
Okay.
I feel like we all know this one, but we might not remember.
Okay.
The Wii Sports Mandela effect. Now, in Wii Sports, you know how the announcer, anytime something happens in the game, especially after you win, what does he say? Does he say, you win? Or does he say, victory? Which one does he say? You know at the end, the announcer,
I think he says, you win.
Yeah,
right?
It
has to be.
that's what I'm saying. So check this out. He doesn't say shit.
Huh?
He doesn't
Wait, so it just ends?
It just ends. He didn't say anything.
What?
That's what I'm saying, bro. What the fuck?
What?
Yeah. Some people remember it saying, you win.
Yeah.
Some people remember it saying, victory. But altogether, no voice. Leave down in the comments right now. I feel this one, everyone has to know this one.
You want to hear a scary story?
Please.
Dyatlov Pass. In 1959, these 9 hikers from Russia went on a hiking expedition through this Siberian wilderness. Anytime they could, they would write a letter back home. And then one day, letters stopped coming in, so they went out there. When they came to the site, the tent had been cut open from the inside out. They went out and they're like, where are these people? They followed these foot tracks, and then they saw one dude on the ground who had 3rd-degree burn marks on his legs. Another dude that was up in a tree who had bitten off part of his hand that was also dressed as well. When they tested them, they had sparks of radiation on them. One of the people had both their eyes missing, and then one of the girls, I believe, had her tongue missing. One of the people that by the cave system, their head was completely crushed in.
What in the world was this? What did they say?
There's a lot of theories. One of the theories that was really creepy was there's like one of the last pictures that they took. Like in the back, you can see that on the tree line, there's this man-like figure that almost looks like a Bigfoot. Just like kind of like peering out of the trees like this.
Stop, Joshua.
Good morning, Mom. Good morning. Where did everybody go? Why don't you go take a nice bath? Ashley? In the bath.
What I found.
Now. Dad?
That's not your mother anymore. Run outside and go for help.
Joshua!
I got you. You're safe.
So he puts out this statement and he says this.
Hey guys, I just want to give you an update.
So people are saying when he says this statement, he's looking to the side and he seems really nervous, unlike his other videos, and they think he's forced to make this claim. Listen.
Couldn't get around to posting and updating you guys, so now I'm gonna give you an official update of what's been going on. Sorry to disappoint you guys, but all of it.
Yeah, he looks to his left, right?
All the videos that I posted were scripted. They're just fake.
So listen. So he's looking to the side.
Sorry to disappoint you guys. I just needed to give you a quick update.
Okay, so that was his last video for I think 3 months. For 3 months, and then he posts this.
You might not see me post ever again.
My videos weren't fake.
Oh, so he says they're not fake. And this is his last video that he ever posted. Look. And he says he sees military on the same mountain. Look. This movie made me scared of wanting to go to Airbnbs now, bro. So it's called The Barbarian, right?
Okay.
Now, there's this girl,
Yeah.
right, that booked an Airbnb in Detroit. And I don't know if you guys know about Detroit, but certain parts of that area is all like abandoned.
Yeah.
Now, the one house that she booked the Airbnb for, she booked it, and when she went to the door and knocked on it, somebody was there already. She wasn't able to get inside, and somebody opened the door. Now, there was a man in there, and he said, "Oh, you have an Airbnb booked?" So I booked it on a different app. And he's like, "Oh, fuck, they probably just messed it up." So the girl's already sussed out, though, because literally abandoned Detroit, this guy living in there, and she was supposed to have that place to herself. He offers her, "Yo, why don't you can sleep in the bedroom and I'll sleep on the couch. You can stay here." She had no other choice. She's like, "Okay, let's do it." So she stays there. Now, in the middle of the night, she hears her door open, raps. So she wakes up, right? But she sees the guy on the couch. So she goes over to him.
Dragons are real, and they've been trying to tell us this whole time. Y'all motherfuckers gonna love this one. At least that's what some people claim, and we may have even found actual proof in 2024. Even though in 1841, we already technically confirmed their existence, we just called them dinosaurs. As always, just a theory, but anyone with more than half a brain cell knows that. Common history tells us the most recent dinosaurs that roamed the earth went extinct around 65 million years ago. So why do we see them in countless ancient drawings and artifacts just a couple thousand years old? Way after they allegedly went extinct, but also before we started discovering their bones. We didn't even officially know what dinosaurs were until 1824, and they weren't even named dinosaurs until 1841. Before then, we had a different name for them: dragons. Nearly every culture of our past had their own version of a scaly, fire-breathing, flying lizard that brave warriors would face to protect their land. And we see these dino dragons in numerous Neolithic cave drawings around the world, painted into rock walls thousands of years old, well before we ever even knew they were a thing. Petroglyphs in Havasupai Canyon, Arizona, Natural Bridges, Utah, and even up around Lake Superior in Canada. And this is just the tip. I think you know where we're going. Over to Angkor Wat in Cambodia, we see more carvings of what looks like a stegosaurus. Carlisle Cathedral in England has etchings of animals unlike we've ever seen. Down in Australia, the Aborigines had this painting of a creature they hunted, and it don't look like anything I know. The Yuan Diao dragon figure from the Shang dynasty about 2000 BC, which looks almost exactly like a T-Rex. And I mean, ancient China is just filled to the brim with bronze statues thousands of years old that resemble our extinct lizard pals. Here's a Mesopotamian jasper cylinder seal from the Uruk period about 3500 BC, and if that ain't a long neck, then I don't know what to tell you. Mind you, these are all several hundred, if not thousands of years old, and they're all over the ancient world. Like, are those humans riding dinosaurs in a 16th century painting? And who can forget about the Acambaro figurines, a collection of 30,000 minifigures uncovered in Mexico of dinosaurs and humans riding them. Initial dating analyses estimated them to be about 4,500 years old, but follow-up stated they were made in the 1930s. So they can quickly dismiss them as a hoax, debunked and move on, but evidence kept on coming. The Ica stones, a collection of more than 15,000 engraved stones which depict... what's that look like to you? Discovered in Peru, said to be over 1,000 years old, and again later claimed a hoax by the one who found them, some say out of force to avoid imprisonment. Is it possible that humans had contact, or at the very least knowledge of dinosaurs in ancient times? Absolutely not, unless they're not as old as we think they are. In 2003, a researcher, Dr. Mary Schweitzer, found a T-Rex femur that was so big they had to snap it in half for transport, something they usually don't do. They do that, take it back to the lab, and inside the bone they find preserved red blood cells. They couldn't believe it. Red blood cells don't last very long, and soft tissue was thought to deteriorate even under the best of conditions within 1 million years. Never mind over 68 million years, even inside of a bone. They concluded it must be a new preservation method they were previously unaware of, which could be the case, calm the f*** down. But since then, they started cracking open more dinosaur bones, finding veins and even soft organic tissue that was stretchy and had an odor, which led some to believe that it could be possible that maybe some dinosaurs dinosaurs were around much more recently than we thought. Before we knew what dinosaurs were, there was a different type of giant reptile that was found in many oral traditions and stories: dragons. Around the same time period in China, South America, Africa, Rome, Aboriginal Australia, we get legends and images of humans fighting off giant scaly winged creatures that flew and breathed fire. All the way up until medieval times, tales of dragons all around the world. So did everyone just coincidentally come up with the exact same mythical creature, or did they actually see it? And the ancient Chinese especially had a huge obsession with dragons as well. Just have a look at the Chinese zodiac. Have you ever thought, why does it have 11 real animals and then they randomly decided to throw in just one mythical creature, the dragon? Having 12 real animals makes more sense to me. Turns out they might have been onto something, because we may have just found the fossil of one in the heart of China. So the potential reason dragon bones might be so rare is because dragons could fly, just like birds. Birds have extremely light, low-density bones that don't fossilize very easily, and it's very likely that dragons would have had the same. Until recently, this was announced: discovered fossilized remains of a 5-meter-long reptile in southern China. Officially called Dinocephalosaurus orientalis, it has been dubbed the Chinese dragon fossil, and is unlike any dinosaur fossil we've ever found. Although it's said to be 240 million years old, that's also exactly what they said about the dinosaurs. Did humans coexist with dinosaurs, and were dragons just a rare species of dinosaur that we hunted into extinction for the safety of our future?
Fam, have you heard that a billionaire has just been caught hiding the last Titanoboa?
No way.
Yo, check this out. So the Titanoboa is the deadliest snake that ever existed. It is said to measure up to 20 meters long and can easily crush its prey. Everyone thought that this creature was extinct. However, rumors began to circulate that a famous billionaire named Kelsey Warren might be hiding the last Titanoboa. So, it started when Kelsey posted a tweet of himself, but when people looked closer, they could see a huge snake in the image. This led people to wonder if he might be hiding the last Titanoboa, but no one was sure until the FBI obtained a search warrant to search his house for the danger and secret of a species once considered extinct. Kelsey's house was absolutely huge and was located on the edge of a jungle. The men began to look around. However, they could not find anything suspicious. It took them several hours, but eventually they had searched everything and all seemed valid. However, as they were about to leave, they saw a small door in the corner with an old rusty sign. They quickly approached it, opened the door, and bro, what they saw next they would never forget. There was a 20-meter snake chained in a cage. One of the agents quickly took out a camera and filmed a video before leaving with the evidence. If you want to see it, follow us. Click here, on more, and then on photos.
Here are 5 mysterious deaths that are widely thought to be cover-ups. Number 5, Frederick Valentin. In 1978, this pilot disappeared completely mid-flight. During his last radio communication, he said a long and metallic aircraft was orbiting 1,000 feet above him. He said the aircraft had green lights and was flying impossibly fast. Then there was a brief silence until he said, "It is hovering and it is not an aircraft." This was followed by 17 seconds of metallic scraping sounds, then all contact was lost. No trace of him or his aircraft was ever found. Number 4, Gareth Williams, or the spy in the suitcase. In 2010, Williams, a British spy, was found dead, trapped inside of a suitcase, padlocked from the outside in the bathtub of his London flat. No fingerprints were discovered on the padlock or the bag's zipper. There was practically no DNA evidence. The heating was turned all the way up in the apartment, which accelerated the body's decomposition. Williams had recently reported suspecting a mole was in the agency. Regardless, the police concluded that he just took his own life. Number 3, Eliza Lamb. She was found dead in a water tank on top of a hotel after being missing for a week. Supposedly, she just climbed in the water tank and offed herself. However, there is surveillance footage that shows her acting very strangely in the elevator of the hotel. People suggest she looks disturbed, panicked, and almost like she's hiding from someone following her. A couple problems are any non-staff member going up to the roof would trigger an alarm. The water tank would have needed a ladder to get into, and she would have had to put the lid back on while inside. All of Eliza's clothes were removed and found separately. Number 2, huge scandal, Dr. David Kelly. Kelly just broke the story on how the UK government had faked evidence that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, meaning that the country was unjustly going to war. He was summoned to testify before a parliamentary committee, and a few days later he was found dead in a wooded area 2 miles from his house. He had cuts on his arms and a pack of painkillers by his side. However, there was no fingerprints found on the knife or the packs of painkillers. None of the accounts of how the body was found match each other. And on the day he died, before his body had been found, his dentist noticed that his entire medical history had disappeared. Number 1 is very strange, very mysterious. But before I get to it, if you like fucked up shit like this, please just drop me a follow. It really helps me out. Number 1 is Jean Bennett Ramsey, a 5-year-old girl found dead in her family's basement several hours after her mother allegedly found a ransom note demanding $118,000. Jean Bennett had been strangled and suffered a skull fracture, and there was a lot of suspicion towards her extremely wealthy parents. And this was because quite a lot of pieces of circumstantial evidence. First, the ransom note was weirdly long and was found to be written with pen and paper from their own house. They also found a draft version of the note in the house as well. There's also no signs of forced entry, which meant someone already inside the house was likely the culprit. And fibers from the mum's clothing were found on the duct tape that covered the little girl's mouth. The investigation still found that the parents were conclusively innocent of any wrongdoing, and the parents successfully sued many people that publicly implicated them for hundreds of millions of dollars. So I agree that they did nothing wrong, and it's a shame the killer wasn't caught.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Day 3 after murdering somebody.
Wow! Don't put that on the camera.
A teen couple who killed the dad, the girl's dad, because the dad didn't like them being in a relationship. And the way they snitched on themselves was crazy. What happened? Okay, so listen. There was a white girl and like a Mexican boy. They're like 18, 16, right? The mom and dad didn't like them being together, and they banned the girl from seeing the boy. Right? All of a sudden, after they applied that rule onto her, dad goes missing. The mom, there's a phone call recorded of the mom. Oh, it's been 2 days. I don't know where my husband's at. My friends have called, his ex-wife has called, the police has called. They don't know where they are. They don't know where he is. The dad's friends come into their house and start looking everywhere. Fam, the dad is dead in the garage. So apparently he got stabbed a bunch of times, and his body was set on fire. So it was the daughter and the boyfriend. And the way they snitched on themselves, there's a video of them that the police caught on their phone. Also, it's so dark. They do. Just listen to what he says.
Something's on in here. It's buzzing. It's really a lot of fans. There's a bunch of fluorescents that are barely on up here. They really just left the lights on in here for years. Like fully, the whole place fully lit and it all burned out. Never press kitchen whites. Never wash personal bags for other blocks. Never wash street clothes with laundry. If you violate these rules, you'd be fired. Wait a minute. It feels hot. It does. This is on. This is straight on. Wow.
In this video, you learn about the creature who feeds on people's pain.
It's time for breakfast.
You are terrifying looking.
Glass of milk always gets a spot.
For breakfast? Ew.
The outside is dangerous. That's why it doesn't exist.
Okay.
You know the grass feels every foot that walks upon it. I've talked to the grass before.
You talked to
it. Doesn't like when I walk onto it. I don't want it to hurt the grass.
Oh my!
Things, but I can't help myself when the time arises.
Oh my God!
I wish I could stop, but it's just too addictive. The feeling I get from other people's pain is truly beautiful.
Oh, you're.
If you got the feeling too, you wouldn't want it to stop either. I'm jealous of you because I truly am cursed forever.
Ew.
But I'm also glad I'm the only one able to experience this kind of high.
You're scaring me.
It feels like a cold, smooth, and creamy liquid going down my throat.
Pause!
You ever hear the toothpaste theory?
Toothpaste?
Yeah. So you know how the toothpaste, at the bottom of that shit, there's always like a block of color. White, but on the thing there's like a little square.
Yeah. What is that? What is that?
You either get a black square, a red square, a blue square. You know what those mean?
No.
They're all the same toothpaste brand. They're all the same type of toothpaste.
Oh shit.
But theory goes that the elites or the people that know the code stay away from certain colors of the toothpaste.
Whoa.
So it's like if you know, you know.
Yeah.
The code is if you have the green on your toothpaste, it means it's all natural. If you have the blue, it says ads. But before continuing, I wanted to warn you guys that phones were being spied on. Click on this icon, then on more. If you see it, delete it immediately. The blue, it says adds natural plus medicine. Okay. If it has red, it's natural with chemical. And if it has black, it's all chemical.
Usually they're all black. These are 5 of the most disturbing pictures ever taken. Number 5, this photo of the blood trail left by Peter Porco. While he was sleeping, Peter was brutally attacked with an axe by his own son. But that morning, Peter woke up, despite severe head injuries and a jaw that was hanging off. And he started his morning routine. He showered, he dressed himself, and he badly loaded the dishwasher. Even though his face and brain were completely destroyed, he completed his morning routine on autopilot before finally collapsing. These are pictures of the blood trail that investigators used to piece what happened together. Number 4, this photo of James Bulger's kidnapping. This is taken from the shopping center CCTV, and it shows 2-year-old James Bulger being led away by 2 10-year-old boys, John Venables and Robert Thompson. The boys abducted him from his mother before taking him to the train tracks to torture him brutally, weighing him down with rocks over the track so that he'd then be severed in half by an oncoming train. Horrible. A bit lighter, number 3, this US soldier holding up a giant jungle centipede in Vietnam. I mean, this is just mental, right? Fuck that. Fuck that. Number 2, this photo of a kidnapper and hostage during the Gladbeck hostage crisis. This one's insane. 2 people robbed a bank and took 2 employees hostage. Over the next 54 hours, the 2 criminals just went on a crime spree. At one point, they commandeered a public bus, taking 32 more hostages. They even held a press conference where journalists interviewed the criminals and their hostages as if it was like a media event. And that's what this picture was taken during. The crisis finally ended with a high-speed shootout, sadly resulting in the death of 2 hostages. Before I get to number 1, if you like this sort of shit, please drop me a follow. It really helps me keep making these videos. Number 1, this photo of Issei Sagawa, Japan's celebrity cannibal. This photo was taken for a Japanese magazine after he was released from prison due to insanity. He was in prison because he murdered Renee Hartfelt, mutilated her, and then cannibalized parts of her body. After he was released, he was frequently on talk shows, reviewed restaurants for magazines, and even acted in horror films. He wrote his own book on the murder of Renee Hartfelt, where he writes in extreme detail about how eating her body was a form of romantic act.
The bunyip is a water cryptid from Australian Aboriginal folklore. It's described as living in swamps, billabongs, creeks, riverbeds, and waterholes. The bunyip's physical description varies significantly in different stories. It's sometimes depicted as a fierce predatory animal with distinctive features like a dog-like face, crocodile-like head, large body, and flippers. Or it might have a more serpent-like or even starfish-like appearance. In certain Aboriginal traditions, it is believed that the bunyip hunts women and children who get too close to the water's edge during the night. This creature is thought to possess mystical abilities, including the power to manipulate water levels, incapacitate victims with its fearsome roar, and mesmerize people into serving as its minions. The bunyip, in some traditions, could be seen as ancestral being, or a creation of them, tasked with protecting certain aspects of the natural world, such as water sources and the creatures living in them. It may also be seen as a manifestation of the dangers inherent in the natural environment, warning individuals, especially children, to be cautious and respectful of waterways.
So there's a Japanese Bloody Mary.
Oh, really?
You ever heard of this?
Nah.
Okay, so it's called the Hanukkah-san or the toilet monster.
Oh, shit.
Okay, so this is how you summon it. This is how you summon it, right? So if you're brave or like stupid, you go up to the 3rd floor, go into the bathroom, go into the 3rd stall, knock on it 3 times, and then once you do that, you look in the toilet, a lady will appear with a dress on, right?
Oh, shit.
Out the thing, and you say, Hanukkah-san, are you here?
Don't say that, bro.
Sorry. We're not in Japan, bro. Relax. We're not in Japan. But you say that 3 times, right? She comes up and and then what happens is that she drags you into the toilet with her, and you're never seen again.
Oh,
Bing,
that's some
bang.
flushed away shit, bro.
Flushed away shit, man.
I can't show you the full video on TikTok, so if you want to see it, click share more and then photos.
So these are the 5 films that killed the most animals. Number 5, Pirates of the Caribbean 1. The special effects in the ship battles were reported to have caused the death of thousands of fish, squid, and marine life in general. It turned out detonating big explosives on and underwater would have dead sea life washing up on shore for a whole week. Number 4, White Wilderness. This Disney documentary was criticized for basically faking the whole thing. It was a nature documentary but couldn't get the scenes it wanted to happen naturally, so it would fake a lot of them. This included putting a polar bear cub in a Hollywood studio and pretending it's the North Pole. But the worst thing they did is convince the whole world that lemmings just like to all run off a cliff. Turns out, lemmings don't just commit self-murder en masse. The filmmakers just used a series of turntables to push all the lemmings off a cliff so that they could get clout for recording a natural phenomenon that never occurred in the first place. Number 3, Ben-Hur, huge film, chariot races, action, Stanley Kubrick, hundreds of horse deaths. That one, less cool. Basically, early Hollywood, didn't give a fuck. Lots of the intense horse chases on screen resulted in hundreds of horse deaths. It's also thought that on set, an extra was trampled by horses and died, and the production crew then went on and covered it up. But that's completely unconfirmed. Number 2, Wake in Fright. This is a great film, but halfway through it turns into a kangaroo snuff film, with real scenes of kangaroos being shot, slaughtered, run over with cars, all caught on camera and put in the film. Number 1 is one of the most fucked up films ever made. You might already know what it is. Before I get to it, if you like fucked up shit like this, please drop me a follow, it really helps me out. Number 1 is this film with a name the algorithm won't let me say. Someone will probably put it in the comments. But this movie was so violent and realistic, people actually sued the filmmakers for murder. Specifically an impalement scene that looked so real, the directors had to prove they didn't kill someone in court. However, the same can't be said for the animals, as many animals were mutilated, tortured, and killed on screen, including a monkey.
Welcome. Do you know you are deserving of love? Deserving of freedom? Deserving of happiness? Deserving of faith? We the children of the Holy Shepherd, a small missionary self-help group, want to restore the world from its glory through self-cleansing.
This man, right here, has to be one of the evilest men I have ever read about in my entire life. This is Shiro Ishii, and he was the man behind Unit 731. Unit 731 was based at the Pingfan district of Harbin of northeast China, where the Japanese had occupied a former Russian epidemic prevention facility. It was commanded by microbiologist Shiro Ishii and staffed by over 3,000 researchers. The stated goal was to develop biological weapons for use against enemy forces. Unit 731 used live test subjects, and by live test subjects, I don't mean animals, I mean humans, referred to as logs. These subjects included civilians and prisoners of war from China, Russia, Korea, Mongolia, and other conquered territories. I'm about to read out some of the experimentations that they put these poor people through. Viewers' discretion is advised. Researchers performed vivisections on prisoners of war and civilians. People had organs and limbs removed without anesthesia to study anatomical effects. Prisoners were kept outside in freezing temperatures and had limbs frozen and then re-warmed to induce frostbite. Researchers would then try treatments like pouring hot water over the areas or placing limbs in a furnace. People were placed inside low-pressure chambers to test the effects of extremely high altitudes. Some had their stomachs and eyeballs pop out from the low pressure. Subjects were tied down and infected with anthrax, cholera, plague, and other diseases while researchers studied effects. Many died excruciatingly painful deaths. Prisoners were strapped into planes and dropped from high altitudes with and without parachutes to see what the injuries resulted. Insects like fleas and ticks were allowed to feed on infected people. The insects then spread diseases like plague and cholera that researchers wanted to weaponize. Female prisoners were repeatedly raped, forcibly impregnated, and then infected with diseases to study the effects on the fetuses. Yeah. So this weapon right here was a weapon that the Japanese attempted to create it. And it's basically, well, a bomb that would have encased 30,000 active or infected fleas. Fleas that were infected with the bubonic plague. This excerpt that I'm about to read from y'all, I got from the Washington Post. Japanese researchers grew fleas in a bathtub, mixed them with wheat to attract disease-carrying rats, infected them with the bubonic plague, and airdropped them over China's eastern province. The Chinese government estimates diseases introduced by Japan killed 270,000 civilians. Yoshiya Shinozuka, 77 years old, a member of Unit 731, who volunteered to testify, told of the human experimentation that went on at the unit's Harbin headquarters in northeastern China. Now, this excerpt is from the New York Times. They interviewed Takeo Wano, a 71-year-old former medical worker in Unit 731. But he confessed that he once saw a 6-foot-high glass jar in which a Western man was pickled in formaldehyde. The man had been cut into 2 pieces vertically, and Mr. Wano guesses that he was Russian because there were many Russians then living in the area. Even interviews that they did with these former workers where they claimed to have vivisected pregnant women just to take the baby and also place it in a jar of formaldehyde. You're probably like, how in the hell was this covered up? Well, remember this guy? When World War II ended, the U.S. government gave Shiro immunity in exchange for the data that he gathered through his gruesome experimentations. Yeah. Now, I got this from the nuclearmuseum.org. They said that American forces, chiefly General Douglas MacArthur, decided not to put workers of Unit 731 on trial. MacArthur granted those involved immunity in exchange for the information they had gathered while doing their experiments. He believed that pursuing trials against these people would get in the way of the Americans receiving the medical information that had been documented from these experiments, and because of this decision, justice was never served.
It's a fucking tiger. There is a tiger in the fucking cage. That is a tiger. Mate. Oh, look at him, poor fucker. Fucking hell, he's looking at me like extreme. Fuck. Yeah, poor fucking thing, man. You know, when I did this yesterday, I actually had a little wrecking. I rode in here, saw the cave, I didn't see him. So I go in these places. Some of you people, be careful where you go, sure. You don't know what, you don't. Until it actually happens, you see stuff like that, yeah, fucking hell, man, that's scary shit.
there's this unknown 15-ton object orbiting Earth that is estimated to have been there for 13,000 years. And we've got some close-up HD photos of this thing that are gonna blow your mind. This object they discovered around our planet back in the 50s and is apparently still orbiting us to this day. This thing may just be our first sign of what's to come and has been dubbed the Black Knight satellite. It's a confirmed object documented by NASA, and we've since been told that it's just space junk, a discarded thermal cover, which granted it might be, but today we're asking the question, what if it's not? It's rumored to be an artificial satellite and apparently has been there since 11,000 BC. But what's really crazy is that this Black Knight satellite was initially detected back in 1954, 3 years before humanity's first artificial satellite Sputnik 1 went into orbit. And the Black Knight satellite was found to be in a polar orbit, meaning it goes north to south, while debris and space junk are expected to follow the rotation of our planet. Polar orbits also happen to be the preferred orbital path for reconnaissance, covering the most amount of ground and ideal for an invading species. Then in 1998, NASA's STS-88 mission did a direct flyby and got this incredible high-definition photo of it. I don't know about you, but that sure doesn't look like no thermal blanket to me. It's even emitting its own radio signal, which the NSA, many astronomers around the world, and even ham radio operators all independently came up with the same decoding of that signal. This radio signal is allegedly emitting a message, more specifically a map. A star map of the constellation Boötis, with the only star out of place in this map being Epsilon Boötis, indicating that that may have been the origin star of this satellite. The position of the stars in this map was also slightly off from where they are now, but would match perfectly with our star positions 13,000 years ago, leading to believe that's when the satellite arrived. Epsilon Boötis is also a very special star system. There's a strange phenomenon there called the Boötis void, which esteemed theoretical physicists around the world all confirmed that light appears to be getting bent around that area, far too big to be a black hole, some of whom suggest that it can even be an advanced civilization using cloaking technology to keep themselves hidden from observers, like us.
This is why you should never camp in the Wendigo woods.
Wait, what the f is that? Sounded like that thing we heard earlier, but like, closer. Wait up. Dude. Yo, is that coming towards us? Shh. It's right there. Yo, what the f? What was that? What the? Is that someone screaming? I need to go check that out. Yeah, I'm sure they're okay. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. That's crazy, bro. No. Okay. You see anything? I don't see anything. What? What the hell? It's a person there. Holy shit. Dude, that's... must be the person that we heard, right? Yeah, yelling. Okay. Here, let's make our way.
Hello?
Jesus. Careful.
Hello?
Hey!
Hey, are you okay?
What the hell is that?
What's going on? What happened here?
What is that?
Click plus to see part 2.
Now keep in mind, this guy's dead right now. But this is where it gets crazy, right? Okay. So he goes another day. Now this is during daylight. And what does he see?
What?
So they're extracting something.
He sees helicopters in the same mountain. Look. Helicopters in the same mountain, presumably extracting what's there.
Yeah?
Yeah, after seeing the CIA agent, right? After he sees that guy, he goes home.
Okay.
And he says that he's being stalked because in another TikTok here, he shows outside.
Oh, this
and then there's cars that followed him, and it looks like the same. It looks like the same car.
Yo,
it's the same vehicle that he saw. And look, it just drives away. Yeah, it just drives away. Now, this is where it gets crazy because he puts out an official statement, right? He gives an official update. The last time he posted the being stalked video, that was his last post for a month.
These are 5 of the most messed up pictures ever taken. Number 5, this note from a young man's fatal underwater marriage proposal. Steven Weber drowned after swimming down 30 feet to show his handwritten proposal to his girlfriend through the window of an underwater hotel. He held a note in a Ziploc bag that read, "I can't hold my breath long enough to tell you everything I love about you. Will you marry me?" He swam away, and when his girlfriend went up to hug her new fiancé, the only thing she could hug was her boyfriend's corpse. Number 4, this photo of the lead singer of Mayhem after he took his own life. His brain scattered scattered across the room, bloodstains everywhere, and his body slumped over a shotgun. Disturbingly, he was found by the band's guitarist, and instead of calling for help, he ran out, grabbed his disposable camera, came back, and took a picture so that he could use it as the band's next album cover. That guitarist also ate parts of his brain and used parts of his skull to make jewelry. Metal as fuck. Number 3, this photo of YouTuber Sarah Funk next to a suitcase that was later discovered to have the remains of a 12-year-old girl murdered by serial killer Nikos Metaxa. After posting this photo on her Instagram, a lot of people thought that it could be connected to a serial murder case. The man confessed to murdering several people just days before, and he told police that he dumped some of his victims' bodies in suitcases into a lake that's become a destination for travel influencers. Number 2, this photo of Jeannie Wiley, the feral child. It's a tragic story. She was discovered in a bare, windowless room. She was malnourished, stunted, neglected. Her deranged father had strapped her into a handmade straitjacket and tied her to a makeshift toilet in an isolated room ever since she was a toddler. He'd forbidden her to speak, cry, or make any noise, and he would only ever beat or growl at her like a dog. This is Jeannie when she was finally found by authorities. Haunting. So before I get to number 1, if you like fucked up shit like this, please just drop me a follow. It really helps me keep making these videos. Number 1 is this photo of John Edwards Robinson holding baby Tiffany, whose mother he murdered the day before. He gave the baby to his brother, saying that she was adopted. His brother and Tiffany, the baby, didn't find out the truth for 15 years. He'd convinced his brother that Tiffany was legally adopted by forging documents and fabricating stories about her mother's death. He then charged his own brother $6,000 in legal fees.
Do you know the real story behind Sesame Street? The real story of Sesame Street is from an abandoned hospital in Detroit. Big Bird had feathers falling out because he was malnourished. He wandered the halls alone, squawking to himself. Snuffleupagus was an imaginary friend to a little girl. She spoke to him constantly as her only companion. Elmo's fur was matted with blood from scratching his own skin. They had to put mittens on his little hands to stop him. Cookie Monster ate everything he could find, even if it wasn't food. Grover was the most normal of them all, until the day the power went out and he was trapped alone in the basement, forever changed. As for Bert and Ernie, they wouldn't leave each other's side out of fear, clutching stuffed dolls. Their bond was the only thing keeping them sane, and that is their dark tale. Sesame Street was not what it seemed, leaving us to ponder what is real and imagined. Follow for more dark origin stories.
What? What's wrong with you? What? It took my daughter. Parker? Please, let me inside. Parker!
Mom, what's wrong?
Now they're mixing different DNAs of animals.
Yeah.
So there was this one turtle combined with a rat.
What the fuck?
So they took DNA from a shellless turtle and combined it with DNA of a rat.
A shellless turtle?
Yeah. And they fertilized the eggs, and in 5 months it came out. You want to see it? Like, you can search it up. It's so disgusting, fam.
This experiment started off by taking DNA from my turtle and splicing it together with DNA from my hairless rat. We took their samples to our laboratory, where we spliced them together and fertilized eggs, and after a few months, they were born. What you were looking at is a hairless turtle rat. They're extremely cute and cuddly, and they love to have massages. They love to sleep, to just hang around, and to eat food. As you can see, they do not mind being touched at all. They actually quite like it. We let many of them go back into the wild, but we're not even sure what to name them yet, so maybe you can tell us what you'd like to call them in the comment section. Thanks for watching.
Ew.
Yeah.